Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us at Tonalités Femmes, Mansi. You're from India, but have lived in Austria with your husband and children for several years. What has been your most memorable trip here in Austria and why?
Thank you for having me, Kiara. I'm very excited about this. We've been in Austria for about 12 years now, and we love it here. And there's no one particular memorable trip that could come to my mind. But I have to say that the recent trips that we have taken to the Austrian countryside, last year we were in Tyrol with a very good friend of mine, and we were together over there for a week with the children. We had like little excursions around, we had time to relax and play games with kids and do fun stuff with them. That was really memorable for me. Yeah.
What would you say are the main differences in your personal life between India and Austria?
Quite a lot, I would say. I was working in India and I have been working here, working outside of the home. In India, there was not much time left for a personal life because you live in an atmosphere which took a lot, like the work was much more difficult and there were longer hours to be put in. So there wasn't much time left for a family or a personal life as such. Over here, I have been able to balance it out much better because here you have the weekends to yourself. You're home at a decent hour, so you have the evening to yourself. And personally, I've also become much better at planning my time. So that also makes a huge difference. So I have time for myself, for my family, to do things that interest me. And I pursue a career and manage homes. So then that works pretty well now.
You have two lovely children, Mansi.
I do.
Kimaya and Kian. What are the most important things you're teaching them about life? And do you have some tips for us?
Wow. The background that I come from and my marriage, basically, I come from a different religion than my husband. We speak different languages. We were brought up in a very multicultural atmosphere. In both our homes, there was English spoken all the time. So all those things, I think, has shaped our personalities in a way that we feel enabled to raise our children very differently from how they're usually raised. As in our home, religion or culture not culture, but religion really does not play a big role. So what we agreed on at the very beginning, before Kimaya was born, was that we will not impart one particular religion or one particular way of living to her. We will let her choose. So that is what we really insist on. We insist on good behavior and we insist on humanity. That is the biggest thing I can say that I can give to my children. Regarding tips, I would say when it comes to raising children, what I have learned, I don't think I'm in a position to give a tip to anybody, but what I have learned after 6 years of raising Kimaya, Kian is just 3 months old, so I don't know yet, is to appreciate her difference, that she is different from what I am. That has been the biggest learning curve for me. She's a completely different personality than I am. And for me, it is very challenging to appreciate that and let her be. So that is, I would say that would be my only tip, is that one needs to observe one's child to find out how best to deal with him or her. Yeah. Of course, we pass on the values that we've got from our parents as well. So at any point of time, she has to respect people around her. She has to use a particular tone with elders, especially because that's extremely important in our culture. Other than that, what I aim to teach my children is hard work. There's no easy way out. They have to set high standards for themselves, because that's what I was taught to do. There was never a time in my life where I've gotten things easily. I've had to work for them. I've had to earn them. My mother really instilled in me the importance of being independent. And this is what I would want my children to be as well. Financially independent, to a large extent, physically, emotionally independent. And that is really, really important for me. Even as an Indian, it's really very important that I teach Kimaya more the value of being independent, because that is what will bring about a change in our situation back in India as well. That's what I really want to impart to her. I was 16 when my mother said, there will be no more pocket money, you'll need to earn it. And ever since, I have been independent, basically. And it's not about the money. It's about the confidence you get. It's about the things you learn on the way. You know, you learn to find your own way. You learn to fight it out. And that makes for a very good character, a very strong character. Yeah, that's it. Of course, I have to say that my parents taught me that. My dad showed me a way. He was the one who insisted that I learn German, and look where it got me, you know. And then when I got married, I came into a family which let me thrive, which is extremely, extremely important. I've got all sorts of support from my parents-in-law. They've let me, find my footing in life. And all those things I really need to teach my children as well.
So you and your husband are from Hindu and Jain religious backgrounds in India, which include some dietary restrictions for you and your family and your children. What are some of the challenges in maintaining your religious traditions and dealing with Austrian food culture, for example?
Yeah, that is extremely challenging, especially because we are vegetarians. My husband and I, my husband's family, my family, we are born and raised vegetarians. And by vegetarianism, I mean that we also don't eat fish or eggs. Our religions are to a large part based on the principle of non-violence. We do not harm living creatures. And that is what we would like our children to follow as well. Of course, we know that it'll be much more challenging for them to follow it in Austria or in Europe or anywhere outside of India. Logistically, it is much more easier to follow that in India because of the variety of food available, and because your social atmosphere is also made up of a lot of people who come from the same background. But over here, what we have found challenging is the perception of other people towards us. I do not find... We are basically used to having limited vegetarian options everywhere in Europe. And now it doesn't bother us. But what bothers us is the perception of the people around us, which is of course changing as there is more awareness about it. But we have been faced with questions like, so what do you eat? How do you survive? And how will you raise a child? I had my pediatrician who insisted that I give my child red meat for her to have enough protein. to a point that it got to me and I had a blood test done, and Kimaya has enough protein in her body. Of course, we see to it that she has enough vegetarian sources of protein. So those sort of challenges, the perception of people around you, or that is more of a challenge when raising children. Although at a very young age, we sat down with Kimaya and we explained to her why we don't eat meat, or what is the reason that we follow this. And then at that point, we told her that she has a choice. She can choose to eat and she can choose not to eat. And we were pretty confident, and it worked out that way, that she chose not to eat meat, and she's been a hardcore vegetarian ever since.
And finally, you're a busy mom and have a demanding job at the UN. What do you do to unwind and relax in the evening?
That's a trick question. Because if you ask Hiren, he will say that I never unwind or I never relax. But I would say to a large extent, doing housework or arranging everything for the next day, and getting the clothes out, getting the snack boxes done, planning things, it does help me unwind or relax, believe it or not. It does help me because it gives me a sort of assurance that I'm prepared, and that is very important to me. So that helps me unwind, helps me relax, I have to say. Other than that, we love watching movies, we love watching good programs. So Hiren and I, once the kids are in bed, we watch something before we fall asleep, or I usually fall asleep while watching something. So that way we relax. I read a lot whenever I get the chance. I chat up with friends, and yeah, that's about the end of the day. By then it's time for bed. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Not at all.